Fine, thank you very much.
Good to see you again, and welcome back from your holiday. Did you have a good time in Italy?
I did, and I came out unscathed, so
Excellent.
It was quite good.
Obviously, I didn't pay the mafia enough then to bump you off while you were there.
That's it. More,
much more.
Well,
we're going to. Our plan tonight is to have a chat about cars and driving and interrogate, because I would call you as a bit of an automotive Luddite. I think that's probably the best way of describing it.
I think, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
A to B.
Yeah.
But it's only because I can't afford the posh cars that I go the opposite.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that as well. I think it's worth buying a vehicle that you're really passionate about and making the most of it and maintaining that. It's a much better way of doing things when it comes to the environment. But since you've been in Italy, in a country that is clearly passionate about cars and racing and things like that, what's your experience been of driving in Italy?
Well, it is interesting because they've also got these things called little electric scooters now, so you cannot hear them. So you've got the cars, you've got the Vespas, which all queue up at the traffic lights, ready to go. And as soon as the traffic lights go onto green, it's like the start of a race. Then you've got these little quiet scooters that zip up on you and zigzag, and you don't know which way to look. As the taxi driver said to us, he said, if you drive in Italy, you need to close your eyes.
It is a remarkable, and I take it you went and you got a hire car. And having been in Italy myself recently, did your hire car have all four corners intact?
Well, yes. It absolutely intact. All indicators were working. It wasn't a BMW. It was So we're all good. But I did use public transport most of the time because it's just easier to get in and out of the city.
Well, I was in Italy 3-4 weeks ago and hired a car, and every corner of it had been rounded off by previous drivers. So it was a good quality vehicle, which actually made it easier for getting around narrow streets and things because the corners were missing. So there is, and actually when you look at Italian cars, it's actually quite tricky to find one without a dent in it or a mark on it, which they clearly just accept as part of motoring life.
Well, yeah, but talking about dents in cars and hire cars, I had a hire car once from Heathrow Airport, and they said, "Would you like an upgrade?" So I said, "Why, yes, I would." And it was a nice black BMW, and they said, "It's all been checked over for you, sir. Here's the keys. Off you go." I said, "No, I'll check it. Thank you very much." Walked around the back, and the back end stoved in. Somebody had reversed it into, I think, must have been one of the staff, not mentioning no names, and reversed it into a pillar. And we're trying to fob it off on an unsuspecting customer who was susceptible to an upgrade. So I told him to take a hike.
Yeah, well, there's a novel approach to customer service, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
So let's have a talk about your motoring and driving life, Matt. When did you pass your test?
I passed my test second time after an 8-point turn. But no, I passed my test in 1988.
I only I was a natural. One of the few things I was supposedly gifted and talented at, I passed for the first time, and then went into as you joined the army. And one of the things that the army had to get you to do is, if you're going to command a vehicle, the army's ethos is you must be able to drive it legally if you're going to command it. So we, as young officers, all shipped down to Bovington, where the Armoured Corps train all their drivers and track vehicles and things. And there's a Royal Artillery wing there, and we went in, and I remember learning to drive all these tracked vehicles. But you've got to get a tracks license, and the test, and I'm not making this up, is you have to drive out of the barracks, turn left, go down to the next junction, turn left, travel about half a mile, turn left again. You basically drive around the block. The highlight is going over a bridge, or the bit that you've got to pay attention to, go over a bridge where the speed limit drops to, I think, 15 miles an hour. So you can't be speeding over the bridge. The only point of interest about the bridge, other than the speed limit, is it was the bridge that Lawrence of Arabia hit on a motorbike and killed himself. So that's just outside the barracks. Famous bridge.
A sign on it.
Indeed. Well, yeah, I think it does. It might have a marker or something on it. And then back into the barracks, park up. And I remember the sergeant who was standing in the cupola commanding the vehicles that you had to have, because he was the one that told you whether the road was clear or not to pull out. And he said to me, "Congratulations, sir, you passed. Here's your ticket to say you passed. You can put it on your license, and that's the last time you'll ever drive an armoured vehicle in the British Army." And he was pretty much right. So that was it.
Right. I just visions of you like the Kenny Everett character,
big shoulders stuck in the
shoulders, standing on that, and one of his sketches was you don't know where to park, you need to get yourself a Sherman tank, and you just drive over the top of it. So just imagine you just driving over the top of a Mini or something like that.
I think probably in that sort of training course, I think there were a number of vehicles and unsuspecting members of the public certainly terrified by the antics. I think it would be. So Matt, what cars have you got? Have you got one car, two, many cars?
We have two cars. So yes, we have two cars, a tractor, quad, that sort of things. But I regret I did have a Mark I Disco, Land Rover Discovery, but that as they all do, succumbed to underside rot. And I wasn't allowed to keep it as a tractor, so we then went to. I've got very, very bad experiences with cars. So I got my Mark I Discovery, which was great, loved it, nice, sort of really old. And then I went on to a Mitsubishi Outlander, which was lovely car, but I was just banging the miles on it.
Is that a pickup type thing with a flatbed?
No, that's a seven. It's like a 7-seat 4-wheel drive.
Okay.
One down from the Shogun. It's like a cross.
Okay. And
that was lovely.
Just on that, had you all the passenger seats facing backwards, like RAF passenger planes?
No, not sideways or sideways on.
Oh right. Okay.
No, it wasn't anything like that. Not like a VC10.
No. I could never really understand that, because they said, we do this in case there's a crash, that the seats will give you more support in the accident. And I started to think, after they told us this, if the plane, we had the misfortune of the plane hitting something, I honestly thought we'd be hitting it that hard that it really wouldn't matter which way the seat was in.
Hit it like a powder puff.
Yeah,
I always wonder whether you're sort of sitting facing backwards, and as you take off, you must feel like you're going like that.
Yeah.
You must feel quite odd.
It was a singularly unpleasant experience, but travelling with the RAF generally was a singularly unpleasant experience.
No, that's shameful.
Yeah, you obviously didn't travel with RAF movers that often then.
No, not at all.
Oh,
so, apart from the Chinooks, I've dropped off top of mountains and Chinooks and things like that, but that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, they were good to travel in. Sorry, I missed it. I got you off your Mitsubishi Outlander.
Yeah. So I got rid of that and went on to a series of cars where they either broke down or decided to stop in the middle of the road. And warranty issues, and then I ended up. I've got myself just a little Ford Cougar, and my wife's got a Mitsubishi Shogun, which is brilliant. They go everywhere.
Yeah, no, they are
not very just the wine bar car park. They actually go really off road.
Yes,
so, a bit of fun with those.
Seriously,
but that's one of our pet hates, our shared pet hates, is these people that have what we call the Chelsea tractors.
Absolutely.
And they've got 4-wheel drive gas guzzlers in the middle of nowhere. But I hand on heart say we actually need ours.
Yes, well, I don't have. I'm of the opinion if you're going to buy a car, you want to buy it for the purpose that it was actually designed for. So I have a real thing that people who buy, for example, McLaren sports cars or buy cars and then put them in a garage and don't use them. And it's I like sports cars. I actually genuinely buy my sports cars and I will take them and use them on a track for what they're actually meant for, even with road tires and things on them. I'll put them on a track and actually use them. Now, the whole thing about SUVs and people driving those, why do you need a car that big? You know, it fills, as you say, the environmental damage building it, the fuel it uses, the space it takes up. You only have to go into any supermarket car park or things, and they're spilling over the car parking space, aren't they?
Well, that's it. Ours does, but I could tell you, I could fill a Shogun burst into the limits until we lost Lola Dog last year. It was five humans, 3 dogs, 3 Labradors, and if the Labradors didn't go in there, it was saddles or hay bales or stuff like that. So yeah, pretty agricultural vehicles. But tell me, in addition to your Lotus, what's your
yeah, well, you see, I probably should seek help for it because in my short life, I have owned 7 Lotus cars now. I actually have 3 of them at the moment, which is, you know, it's 7. I'm not sure. Well, I am sure how I did it. It seemed like a very, very good idea at the time. So I have the Evora, which is a V6 car, which I use as my sort of daily driver type car. And then I have a 21-year-old Elise, which was a limited edition. And then I have another Elise that is fully race prepared that I use for competing in. So that's it. And then my wife, because she likes fast cars as well, has a Focus ST. So we've got a collection of relatively fast cars, but they're all, none of them are brand new. I think the newest one is the Evora, and that's 6 years old now. And I've come to the conclusion that actually it's completely pointless buying a new car, and that if things break on it, then I repair it. And the beauty about Lotus cars is they are literally hand built. You know, there is no the most automated part when you see a Lotus being built is the cordless ratchet driver that they put bits on the car with. That's as much as, so they are, if you've got a set of spanners, you can take one apart and put it back together again.
But of course they're fiberglass, aren't they? So you can
how dare you
laminate yourself another panel.
How dare you wash your head? They are. Have you know they are polycarbonate now? But yeah, they don't rust, and the chassis and everything's aluminium. It's all bonded and everything. So yeah, they are environmentally friendly, fully recyclable. So yeah, they're good. They're good vehicles.
Very good. And that's how we first met, wasn't it? Because I asked you a question whether you actually, that Lotus was actually yours. On your,
it is, absolutely. So that's so it's
you're the fast car, the sort of glorified tractor.
Absolutely. So what would your dream car be then?
Well, I would like a Range Rover. I think still with the 4-wheel drive theme, and I can get loads of stuff in it.
Yeah.
That would be me. Or the Jaguar 4-wheel drive. And I can't. You see, the thing is, I really cannot be. I don't really get that worked up about cars. I can't even remember the name of the Jaguar 4-wheel drive. You can probably trip off your tongue. My son could trip off his tongue.
Well, the I-Pace is the electric one.
Yeah.
Is it an F-Pace?
No, if Randall Smith was watching, he would be able to pipe up and tell me.
Name him off, wouldn't he?
I did invite him, but he hadn't turned up.
Yeah, well, how dare he? How dare he?
How dare he?
Yeah. I wonder how many. Can you see how many people are listening?
No, I can't. I can't. There's nobody firing in with the comments or anything like that. So it's probably just two blokes talking. At least we've got a glass of wine and beer each.
So it's interesting because with it, have you got a view on the sort of brand snob or opinions of people who drive? Because I have this thing that if somebody who drives a Nissan Qashqai kumquat kiwi fruit thing, I can never, you know, the thing that's a sort of soft roller thing, jacked up. I just have an opinion that those people have just given up on life, just because they, I need a car, but I can't think of anything, so I will get one of those because it just looks like everything else. It might as well be painted beige.
Well, when we lived in Korea, I was given a car by the company I worked for, and we were in the Hyundai shipyard, working in the Hyundai shipyard. And surprise, surprise, we got a Hyundai. But we had to buy, because we had a family out there, and my wife needs to run the kids around. We had to buy a car in Korea. Now, this is a story. Buying a car in Korea is a really interesting experience. Anyway, we had a Hyundai Matrix, which is if a kid was drawing a car, you know, a 5-year-old was drawing a car, that's what it would look like. It was slightly slopey at the front, but if you had like a box with trim the top off it, it would that's what it would look like.
Right.
But I went through the process of buying a car in Korea, and so I had to go with the owner to the place where you register the car. So I'd already bought the car. And we go in there and we go to this chap and we fill out a form, and the guy stamps it and you give him a bit of money and he points to a desk. You go to that desk and he gives you another form. You fill out the form. What's this for? I don't know. You can't speak English. I can't speak Korean. I had a Korean that goes with me, and he sort of explains this is just for your registration. This is to say for the address, blah blah blah. So anyway, we go to the next guy, and we're not talking massive amounts of money here. We're talking to each of these people at these various desks. Anyway, we get to desk number 6. So we're just going from one to the other. We're getting stamps. We're filling forms out all the way around. Then we go to the final desk, and this is the big one. We should get your registration plate. So you have to pay a bit more, so it's a couple of £100 or something like that.
Yeah.
But the process of buying and selling a car in Korea, I had to go and register. I was 2 or 3 hours in the place. My wife was ringing me up saying, where on earth I was still in the queue, waiting for the third stamp. Ridiculous. The most bizarre buying process I've ever gone through.
Yeah.
But no, the Hyundai Matrix, I'm not sure what they call it in this country, but it was basically a box on wheels.
You didn't fall in love with it then?
No, and it was white, not beige, but that's close.
So it's fascinating. I find it fascinating the brand snobbery that people have around vehicles, and then even like the pecking order in a particular model range. So if you so you can see people, I wouldn't buy a Kia, or I wouldn't buy a Hyundai, I wouldn't want those, you know, thing. BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and to a certain extent Jaguar kind of limps in there as well. But it's and then you have I've got a 3 Series, I've got a 5 Series, I've got a 7 Series. But even within the 3 Series, there's a pecking order depending what engine and trim net level and things. All going back to the days of when company cars were issued to people in business. You know, whether you got a Ford Cortina or you've got a Ford Granada, how big the engine was, whether it's an L, a GL, or a GL XL, it all comes from that. But it's not only that. So you've got the 4x4, you've got saloon cars, you've got hatchbacks, you've got estates, you've got 4x4s. But for some people, I don't know whether it's they get in these vehicles and it actually changes their personality. Or are they just like that and they're just nasty people? I don't believe that they're nasty people. I just think there's something to get in the vehicle, and because I'm in a big box now, I can behave the way I want. And the one that strikes me is if my car is quite low down, being a sports car, but the one grille that is going to fill the whole mirror, and it will look as if the car is actually glued to the back of mine, and I'll see the 4 magnetic circles of an Audi filling the rear view mirror. And I'm sure Audi has a special feature in it that just allows people to drive absolutely insanely close to the back of the car.
What, like a UT sensor?
Yeah, something like that. It will be. There's definitely no sort of a passive radar or anything saying that you're too close to the car in front.
You'd probably say, because it's German engineering, it says you're precisely 63 millimeters away from the car in front. You have another 6 millimeters to go, and then you must brake.
Absolutely. Well, it's the other, as some motoring journalists have commented, that actually the 4 rings just spell cock as it's filling your rear view mirror. Yes, how dare I?
Yes, plug your ears, children.
Indeed. But yeah, I think
some of them are extensions of that appendage, aren't they?
It is, yeah. I think there's a certain amount of that, but they've definitely taken over from where BMW's left off about 10, 15 years ago. I think the BMWs are now the slightly more acceptable face. But as you and I were chatting offline, there are certain features on a BMW now that you just wonder why BMW even fitting them.
They rendered them useless, don't they? Indicators.
Indicators.
Yes.
You could save some plastic and glass and things if you just didn't fit them, because they're never used. So you could buy a new BMW.
I think it gets me. People that don't indicate on roundabouts. That gets me. And that's not anything to do with cars. That's just to do with the people that drive them. Do you think the psyche of a person is drawn to a particular type of car? Do you think mad people that don't signal and don't just are drawn to BMWs?
There could be. It's definitely a personality trait or a statement that people are trying to make by driving that particular type of car. I think there's a certain amount of that.
See, you mentioned Kia earlier on. See, I'd buy a Kia.
Well, I would now
because of the 7-year warranty.
Yeah, and I think some of the designs, especially their electric vehicles and things, are really, really good. I think they're super looking vehicles. Just going back to your indicators, motorway lane discipline, and indicating on motorway. So if you're on the motorway, the number of times you will see Audis changing lanes, generally, which is unusual because usually they're in the fast lane doing about 20 miles an hour.
It's not the fast lane, Peter. It's the overtaking lane.
Sorry, the overtaking lane. Well, you might want to. That's possibly why they're going so fast, because they're trying to overtake everything else that's on the road in that particular lane. But in the odd chance that they have to stray into the other 2 or maybe 3 lanes on the motorway, it might be nice if they actually use the indicator. I think that would be a break with tradition, wouldn't it?
I don't mind in the overtaking fast lane. Because it's the people that hog the middle lane and go at about 65 miles an hour on a motorway or something like that. That grates me. Me and my brother used to you'd overtake them and we'd go in the overtaking lane and then we'd slow down and go across and then see how many times we could circle them before they actually pulled across.
I haven't got the patience for that at all.
Not anymore.
And it gets worse. I don't know whether you've have the opportunity to frequent where they put these supposed smart motorways in, where they've now got 4 lanes, and instead of hogging the middle lane as they do, they've just moved out 1 lane into the 3rd lane. So we'll sit there doing 65 miles an hour.
The semi-fast lane.
The semi-fast lane, yes. What was the overtaking lane, but has now been moved out 1, and they'll just sit in that lane doing 65 miles an hour, and oblivious to the other 2 lanes of traffic, including the let me just call it the slow lane, but lane 1, the one closest to the hard shoulder, there'll be cars overtaking down that, just completely oblivious to what's going on.
And of course, you can tell you're in the RAF because actually we straddle 2 lanes because it's like a runway.
Yeah, there is that as well. Yeah.
As you do.
Indeed.
Yes.
So
So this the other thing that you mentioned the other day is the how am I driving
yes.
song on the back of the car.
Well, I was driving up to the Lake District and I passed a van with "How am I driving" written on the back of it, and I thought to myself, well, the first thing is, if he was driving badly, how am I meant to note that number down? Because it's usually a mobile number or a 0800 something something number. So how am I meant to note that down? And then that was the first thing. And then where does it go? Am I calling the driver himself to tell him his driving was rubbish?
Or driving to crap.
Or am I calling a call center in India? Or is it? And then I thought to myself, has anybody actually ever called that number to see how it is and what the response? But then I thought, in my devious sort of mind, I thought to myself, do I call the number and just say, "Oh, I passed one of your vans today on the M6. I'd just like to tell you he was doing a remarkably good job." And that would throw a spanner in the works, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You should do that. Trouble is, if you actually pick your phone up and jot the number down, you'll get pulled over for using your mobile phone.
Yeah, barking. Absolutely barking.
I had in my windsurfing days years ago, I had a friend who worked for a travel company, and he had a van with their details on the side.
Yeah,
and he liked a bit of sport, and he was actually racing a car down the motorway, and the car rang the number on the side and said, "I'm just racing one of your cars down the motorway," and he actually got disciplined. He got disciplined for it.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. When I was serving and living in Germany, I went down to pick my now wife up from at Düsseldorf Airport, and I had a Toyota MR2 at the time, and as you know, on the autobahns in Germany, they're not speed limit. So I'd driven down to Düsseldorf, about an hour's drive, picked her up, got on into foot flat to the floor, back up the autobahn to Gütersloh, where I was based at the time. And there was a Volkswagen Passat up behind me, flashing its lights, things. And I just thought, oh, well, I can't believe that this Passat. So I just put my foot down and off I went again up the autobahn. And this went on 3 or 4 times. And when it got to, I thought, after about this happening, as I say, 3 or 4 times, I pulled over into the middle lane and let this Passat get up beside me as if it was going to overtake. And it was one of those sort of comedy moments that I was doing probably 120, 130 miles an hour. And this Passat was literally vibrating, and the windows and the wipers rattling and everything. And it got up. And you could see the passengers inside get up beside me, and it was literally bouncing along in the wind. And the window came down, and out came a lollipop with "Polizei stop" written on it. I thought, oh God, I've just been chased for about the past 25 miles by the German Polizei, so the Deutsche Polizei, and I was fined, I think it was about 20 marks for going through a roadworks at, I think, 130 kilometers an hour, which was about 70 miles an hour, when I should have been doing 120. So I was about 5-6 miles over the limit. And then they relieved me of 20 of my Deutschmarks.
20 marks, which is about £6.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Like three and a half to the pound, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So it was. They probably spent that in fuel changing me.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I feel better for it, but that was my speeding offence in Germany.
Yeah, I got confession here. I got an offence on my provisional license for unlawful pillion riding.
Oh dear.
When I was in a cul-de-sac. So just met one of my school friends who had just got his motorbike, and I said, "Oh, let's have a shot in the back." So I had a shot in the back. Round the corner walks policeman.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Oh dear. Yeah, I had a provisional license about 2 weeks.
We're about out of time, Matt. So you probably want to put the car in neutral, pull the handbrake on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's it, and then slowly turn the ignition off, and there we go.
Yeah, pick up your pieces. Yeah.
Yes. Jolly good. Well, that's a bit. So we're sort of we're still agreeing to disagreeing that cars are a method of transport.
I don't think we actually managed to achieve anything in that discussion other than just air our grievances about other drivers.
That's it. Yeah. Grouse meeting. Never mind.
Indeed.
Jolly good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Anyway,
have a good evening, Matt.
What we're going to grouse about next week. Cheers.
Indeed.